Hey everybody, it's midweek and I thought I would check in and maybe try to save you from yourselves, not all of you, but I have been checking out your preliminary work for discussion 4 and I noticed something that I think will be important to go over with you so that you get the most points that you can possibly get for your assignments and also from my perspective, the most you can possibly learn. What I want to point out is that each assignment has very specific questions. What I've got in front of you here is the assignment with all of the instructions and questions that I've asked for this discussion for. And what I would really like for you to do is to take this list and go back if you've already done it or have it in front of you if you are still working through with your team and make sure that you have actually addressed everything in this list because I know what I'm looking for, and if you just addressed one or two of the things in the list, then you are going to find that you get shorted points, and I don't want that to happen to you. Each thing in this assignment list for you to think about or do or talk about is a facet of the problem that I want you to take the time to think through. So the very first thing on here is that this is a partner assignment. If you did it by yourself without a partner, you've basically done this assignment inside your own box. You already know how you think about things, and what I want you to do is have somebody who has maybe a lot different, maybe only slightly different, but a different perspective from your own to talk these things through with, because you have a very limited perspective and that's your own. One of the beauties of this particular class, of actually most of our master's level classes in the ASU NLM program, is that most of you have actually been out in the work world and you have a ton of experience that will be coming up for you as you are thinking about these assignments. And so bringing your perspective, your experiences to the conversation will educate everybody around you. You are an important part of our learning. Okay, so right in front of you here, you see that there's sort of two parts of this assignment. The first is stuff that you're supposed to talk about with your partner. And I want you to create a definition of innovation and list the principles or the elements that have to be there for a program, a project, a solution to be innovative. I've encouraged you to go ahead and look it up and see what Google thinks, if that will help you get started with your thinking. And then I want you to just think about whether or not your partner or partners actually sort of agree with you, or if you came with kind of different ideas, and how did you bridge the gap in getting to your definition. And then once you have had that conversation, then I want you to pick back up with the program or project that you shared with us in the last discussion 3, and you've identified it for yourself in discussion 3 as a program that is innovative. Well, let's test that project against what you just did as a group to define innovation and to identify the elements that must be there. You may find that your program isn't innovative. It might be an excellent program. It might serve the purpose really well, but if it doesn't meet your definition, is it actually innovative? Really doesn't matter if it works, if it is or isn't innovative. But we are trying to explore here what is innovation and when is it present. So I want you to do that for each of your stories as a group. Be thinking about each story and identifying these elements, and determining some defining principles that qualify that particular initiative, program, or project as innovative. Once you've done it for each story, there might be 2 of you or 3 of you, 2 stories or 3 stories. Then I want you to ask, are the principles that you develop the same for each story? If they're not, where are the commonalities? Where are the differences? Okay, so then I want you to think, did you identify any elements of innovation in any of your stories that actually you did not think of when you were doing the first conversation? Should they be part of your definition or not? All right, so you're going to talk about that. Should they do all of the elements have to be present every time there's innovation, or could some elements be present in some innovations but not necessary? I'll give you an example. One of your classmates has already written that they think that scaling up is an important part of being innovative. And I would just argue that scaling up can be an important part of innovation. But if you are a small community that has had a problem for a very long time and somebody comes in with a very localized solution that nobody's ever thought about and it can't be scaled up, then just because it's so localized, it doesn't matter because you still have innovated around a problem for that community. So scaling up is something that can be associated with innovation, but it also can be not necessary. All right, so now I have asked you to develop a set of questions just based on the principles that you pulled out of your assorted stories that anybody could use to kind of check any initiative or project to see if it's innovative. And then I want you to present your set of principles and your questions to the class on the discussion board. Okay, so here's what your post should contain: a brief summary of the story, again, that you used for discussion 3 in case somebody didn't read your story. A list of the innovative principles your group came up with for your story only. Everybody will just post their own story. And then finally, the list of innovative assessment questions that you came up with for your pair or your group. Okay, so once you've done that, you know that the last thing that you have to do is to go participate in the classroom discussion. And I just want to remind you that there are always instructions for what you're supposed to be talking about with your classmates. In this case, I'm asking you to look for somebody who's posted some principles that are really different than what you talked about, so that you can think about how did they maybe get there and be part of that thinking in your conversation. And finally, you will notice that it instructs you to have those conversations with at least 3 of your peers. Of course, you're welcome to read on and learn more and engage others, but there needs to be at least 3. So I just want to point out that you need to come back after you've done the work and check that you've actually done it the way that it shows up here. Because if you don't, you'll find your docked points. And we move too fast in the summer for me to give you a chance to actually go back and fix it for more points. So I'm telling you in advance, please double check. Don't get started and forget the other pieces. All right, if anybody has any questions about this, feel free to send me a note, or if you have a question that you think would be of broad interest, put it in the Hallway Conversations discussion board. I will see you on the board.